Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. We're going to do a little RPG preview today, and we're going to take a look at a preview sampler from a Kickstarter that is live on Kickstarter right now. There's quite a bit of time left. You'll see a number of days remaining on the Kickstarter in a second here, and it'll be a couple less than that when the video goes live, but not too much because I want to give you time to take a look at this if you decide that this is something that you would like to back. The game in question is a new RPG. It's called Colonies, and it is from Columbia Games. These are the same folks who make the Harn fantasy RPG setting. I'm a big fan of that setting. I believe Colonies is a new version of an older product with which I have zero familiarity. So we're going to take a look at it. I have blazed through this Kickstarter preview PDF, but let's quickly take a look at the Kickstarter itself. So we've somehow managed to end up at the bottom. So there's the video. I will include a link to the Kickstarter and to the product page on Columbia Games' website in the video description. So check those out if you are interested. So let's hop over to... There we go. The Kickstarter. Okay, so as you can see, right now as of filming, there's 26 days to go. There's going to be 22 or 23 by the time the video goes live. But we're at about $15,500 right now. That's 3 times the goal. This is, it's going to make it. There's no question about that. And it looks like with this amount of time left, it's going to do fairly well. I believe, and I'm willing to be corrected on this point, that the delivery of this product is PDF. So I don't think there's a physical printed version. I could be wrong about that. If we go to the FAQ, let's take a look at that. Will there be a hard copy option? We will not have a hard copy option. This will be a complete PDF product. There are no plans for hard copy version in the near future. So if you want to read the more flavorful flavor text, then check out the Kickstarter page, check out the product page on Columbia Games' website. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It'll take too long. What I am going to do is tell you the basic premise is that it's a couple of hundred years in the future. Earth has been completely wrecked by nuclear or biological or ecological causes, and all that is left of mankind are various colonies scattered throughout the solar system. There is no faster than light travel. Science looks reasonably hard, but the game system doesn't look like it gives you tons to work with. But we're going to take a quick look at the preview PDF, which, by the way, has been provided to me by Columbia Games. This is not the finished game. It is not even a draft of the finished game. It is a PDF preview that they sent me. Thank you, Grant. So let's take a quick look. Colonies, sci-fi role-playing in the 23rd century. And we've got some kind of... looks like some kind of alien atmosphere. And maybe like a robot guy or something. I don't know. So here's some premise stuff. So the mechanics here, as far as I can tell at my brief perusal, very strongly resemble the mechanics for the Harnmaster RPG. Now that's the dedicated role-playing game system that's intended to be used with Harn. The Harn world stuff is system neutral and always has been, but there is also a Harnmaster role-playing game system, which I have played and run, and I like, but it's not to all tastes, and I should do a video on it, and now I feel guilty for not having done a video on it before doing this preview of this Harnmaster derived system. Character creation here it looks like it's mostly random. You've got random stats, you've got random education level. The GM can just decide what the education level and things are. And therefore, by extension, the players probably can too, but you're going to, you're extrapolating when you make that determination. So you pick an age, you get an education level, high school, college, or university. It's always easier to role play your own sex. Boy, that's kind of a loaded statement. I'd agree with it, taken at face value. It is easier to role play your own sex, but sometimes you want something that's less easy. You can generate gender randomly, which looks like it's determined on a demographic basis, which is sort of interesting. Maybe it's not. 1 to 57 is male, 58 to 00 is female. I guess I don't really want to touch on this. The ratio of males to females is gradually moving into balance, having been 62% male in the 2201 census. There may be an in-universe reason for that. I don't know. So it looks like you can pick an education, but you can generate an education. Here's a character sheet. This is what showed me this resembles Hardmaster by quite a lot. The skill level in this game is percentile. So think, if you're familiar with any of the basic role-playing games like Call of Cthulhu, your skill is rated on a percentile basis. However, there's a really interesting critical mechanic in Hardmaster, and I actually, in my brief page through, I didn't see it in here, but I'm pretty sure it works that way in High Colonies as well. So if you roll under your percentile skill, you have succeeded at the skill, assuming there's no modifiers or that kind of thing. However, if you roll a multiple of 5, so if the ones die is a 0 or a 5, then you have rolled a critical success. Why is this interesting? This is interesting because it means that the higher your skill is, the higher chance you have of having a critical success. And the higher your skill is, the lower chance you have to have a critical failure. And a lot of critical mechanisms, including the one from basic role-playing, don't take this into account. And I really like that. It's easy. It's an elegant mechanic. I really like that a lot. And then when you get into the combat system, you'll see that there's a separate level of success or effect. And I don't know that we'll get into the combat system in a ton of detail here, because I'm seeing it for almost the first time. But there's a different level of effect for a critical success or critical failure, depending on what the defender's results were as well. So we have skills. This is not the complete skill list. The base skills, I believe, are skills that everybody gets. Some of the combat skills are also base skills, and then here's all your basic. Now, I don't want to say basic, but there's the standard combat skills that are common. You have attributes. The attributes are strength, endurance, agility, dexterity, eyesight, hearing, intellect, will, and charisma. And these are generated on 2d6 plus 6, which is an interesting that that's the case for all of them. That's not the case in Hardmaster. That's not the case in other game systems that use the same number range. In RuneQuest, for example, you would roll 2d6 plus 6, I think, for power and size, and 3d6 for all the others. I don't know that this is particularly important, but it does kind of restrict the values available to you. So careers. Now there's a sort of brief career list in here. And there's a note above that says other careers are available at GM discretion. Depending on the version of Hardmaster that you are looking at, some versions have a huge career list which has everything in it from Ratcatcher to Sorcerer, and others have a much more condensed list of careers that are available because those are the careers that are more appropriate, generally speaking, for adventure-y type characters. What we have here looks more like that. We do have a telepath career. The game is billed as hard science fiction. I don't consider that hard science fiction, but depends who you talk to, I suppose. I can certainly come up with examples of hard or hard-ish science fiction that do include psychic powers. And certainly there was a whole era of literary science fiction in which that was an incredibly common trope. And I don't know that it isn't anymore, actually. So we have skills. There's no character classes. These careers only set your selection of career skills that you just start with, and you have some options to expand that. I wouldn't say that the sampler here is a complete game. If you tried to you could probably get a session out of it if you really wanted to. But to try and get a whole campaign out of it, I think that would be basically impossible. But what we are looking at is a Kickstarter sampler. It's not a final product, and it's not the complete game. I would be curious to see what the page counts on the complete game are. So here we have the big list of skills. You'll notice that each skill has 3 attributes associated with it. And I believe what that means, and I'm doing this from memory from Hardmaster, is that the base that you open the skill at is the sum of these 3 skills. I could be wrong about that. It might be the average. And then you have this OML, which is the opening mastery level, which again is where when you learn the skill, when you say, I have this skill, you get an opening mastery level, which is what it starts at. And then you can add to it as you go, either in character creation or in actual play once you start. So there's a decent number of skills here, but a lot of them are these career skills, and a lot of them are like sciences. There's going to be a lot of science skills, for example. So the number of actual skills that you will have to juggle in play is probably significantly smaller than what we see here in terms of this total list. Rocket Man. There is a skill called Rocket Man. I'm not going to even try to sing the song because then people would unsubscribe. So combat system. So the way this is going to work is, and I'm doing again, I'm doing this from memory from Hardmaster because I don't want to read this draft while you're watching me on video because you would not want to watch that. The way this is going to work is the defender's going to roll, make a combat roll, and the attacker's going to make a combat roll, and then you're going to look up the difference on this matrix. Okay, and each is going to choose the defender's going to choose a defense. So you're going to, based on the defender's defense and the defender's level of success and the attacker's level of success, then you're going to do one of these combat results. So for example, if you do an A*2, you get an attacker strike, and then the number is, I think, the impact level. And then when you do, is that times 2? I think so. So you're going to do 2 times the strike value of the weapon, and then that's going to interact with this injury table so that the effective impact, so say you have a weapon with, and I'm pulling this number out of thin air here. Let's say you have your weapon is a strike 9 and you do an A2, then you're going to do an impact of 18, which will put you on the top column here. So you're probably going to blow somebody's face off, almost certainly. There's different levels of wounds. So this is a specific wound system. So you don't just take hit points off a total. There's a numerical value associated with it, but you have taken a specific injury, and then you have to, to heal, you have to get that injury taken care of, and a more grievous injury is harder to heal. It works like this in Hardmaster. I'm extrapolating that it works that way here as well. The mechanical foundation looks very similar, although this looks a little bit streamlined, but not too much. You do have strike locations. You have an aiming zone, so you can aim high, you can aim middle, you can aim low. So called shots are kind of built in. It does mean that you have an extra percentile roll to determine where the hit location is, but then it rolls over into effective impact. So a shot to the head is generally going to be a more potent wound than a shot to the leg, for example. And then you got armor protection, which decreases from impact here. Whether it decreases before the doubling from the combat result or after the doubling, I'm not sure. Probably after, but don't quote me on that. And then we have a timeline. So we're on page 17 here. We have 1926, Robert Goddard launches first liquid fuel rocket in the U.S., all the way through to 2238, which is the present. The recent Purge War and the Venusian flu have created rifts among many colonies that have yet to heal. Worse, the Chakon have shown a greater degree of distrust, and relations between the two races have deteriorated. Okay, so there's aliens in here. I'm not sure I realized that. I'm not going to go through this entire timeline here because there's quite a bit of it, 3 or 4 pages of timeline. So check this out on the Columbia Games website if you're more interested in that. So the Soldex, and we'll get to this again in a moment, is an annotated alphabetical index of the high colonies, history, major colonies and colonies, corporations and governments. So this is similar to the Harndex, as far as I can tell, where it's basically a giant index. But if it is done as interestingly as the Harndex, then that would be very readable to me. And we have some entries here, a couple of pages of entries. So it looks like Alpha Centauri. So there's no faster than light travel here, but there might be slower than light interstellar travel. That's happened, even if they're not there yet. So that's the end of the draft. Let's hop back to the Kickstarter real quick and take a quick look at the pledges and stretch goals and all that stuff. So these are going to be updated, I can tell you that. So the whole package is $29, and it's a rule set, a character pack. Not sure what that is, whether it's character sheets, which I would consider should be complementary with the game. You also have the Soldex guide, spaceship combat rules, and 6 character templates. For $48, you get all that plus an adventure. For $99, you get all that plus 4 more adventures, which is interesting. So, and again, I've confirmed based on the fact that this is a pure PDF delivery. It's not physical product, which for some people they really want physical product, and some people don't care. For me, it depends what it is. I'm not sure I would care in this particular case. So stretch goals. We have here 3 extra Soldex pages. Not sure how many pages either the main rules or the Soldex turn out to be, so I don't know, is that a lot? Maybe? This could be 300 pages for all I know. You get the Miner, which sounds like another career. You get a Spacecraft, so that's probably like an additional spacecraft type. And there is an opportunity for add-ons here where you can order some additional adventures, probably all the same ones that you can get by just pledging enough up there. And you can also add on this big Harnmaster bundle as well. Harnmaster, although I've talked about it a lot because it shares a system with this, is beyond the scope of this video. It is an interesting system, and I would like to do a video on it at some point, but not today. Risks and challenges. I'm not going to read this, but I'm going to mention that Columbia has done Kickstarters in the past, and they've delivered in a way that was satisfactory. Some of those Kickstarters have resulted in physical products. Others have been completely digital. The one I backed was the Cities of Harn Kickstarter, which was completely digital. And I think I paid what I consider a very reasonable price for an absolute crap ton of digital product. Hi, Colonies. It looks interesting if you're a fan of the Harnmaster system, the mechanics. It looks like this is a pretty straightforward science fiction adaptation of that. Combat's going to be pretty brutal. I would expect it's going to be fairly gruesome. And it looks interesting. The setting sounds reasonably interesting, and I would be very much interested in seeing where this goes. It looks like it's a fair amount of material for $29, which is not a bad entry point. And if you're really interested, you can go for the higher pledge levels and make Columbia Games happy and get some more adventures and stuff. And it looks like if you get all 5, you go for the $99 level, you're going to end up with 5 adventures, which, that's a lot of adventures. That's almost a whole mini campaign. Hi, Colonies. Looks interesting. It is a Kickstarter that's available right now. It says 26 days left, but by the time you see this video, it'll probably be 22, 23. If you are interested in this, please check out the links in the description below. Again, the preview PDF has been provided to me by Columbia Games. I appreciate that. So check this out if you are interested in a science fiction role-playing game with a fairly gritty and yet relatively elegant system. This is Ardwulf. I am signing off. If you've enjoyed watching the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please share the video around, which I don't ask people to do very often, but please share the video around. It helps the channel a lot, and Columbia Games would probably be pretty happy with it too in this particular case. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There is more RPG stuff on the way, and of course, more wargaming content. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.